What's up, y'all? Welcome to Nomads No Worries. My name is Steve. This is my co-host Jack. And
How's it
today we're going
going?
to talk about France.
Excellent, Steve. Good morning. Bright and early today for the pod. Super excited.
Yeah, dude. Buenos dias. The co-working space is empty right now. It's 8 a.m. here. People don't show up until 9. So I'm ready to just be loud and yell throughout this co-working space.
Wait, Steve, it's only 8 there? Man, you really got up early for this. I was the one who pushed it back. This is
I've been,
crazy. You were ready to go at like 7 a.m. I mean,
yeah, I know. I've been ripping early work days recently and just getting off early.
wow.
So, because Alita's been working like East Coast hours, so we've kind of been mirroring each other's schedules and getting up early. So it's all good. This is normal.
Wow, that's honestly super zen, man. I think having a routine like that is good. That's something I'm building towards. I'll like leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You could be like one of those influencers on social media that they wake up at like 4 a.m. and meditate for an hour. And they really don't do anything for like 4 hours. And then they like have breakfast at 9 a.m. So it's like, what did you do from 4? They're like, work out, drink protein shakes, that kind
Rub
of thing.
banana on my face.
Yeah, all the weird shit. So,
Dude, I swear to God, last weekend, I know we weren't going to talk about it, but I made a friend because of that meme. Okay? So, like, this lady is like waiting to play pickleball and she's drinking the Saratoga water. I swear. Okay? She's drinking this water and I like go up to her. I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Like, do you doing that because of the meme? And she had no idea, zero clue about it. And I'm like, why do you like this water? She's like, it's just like, honestly, it's like way too expensive. She kind of like talks shit on the water a little bit, but we kind of became friends after that because of that moment.
that's awesome. Yeah, I still haven't had the water yet. I'm sure it tastes like water, but I want to give it a try.
I'm sure it's like $9, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, let's get into it. We're going to talk about 3 different areas of France. I know we've both traveled all over France, but today we're going to focus on Paris and Bordeaux and kind of that surrounding wine region. And then the south, you got Nice, you got Cannes. I don't know how to say that.
I thought it was
Um,
con, but
it might be. I have no
I don't
fucking
know,
ideas.
bro.
Yeah, I'm a con man. You're a con man, so
Maybe it's not
let's
con. I feel like it's can. Just let me,
we'll
hold on.
figure it out. But yeah, first let's just talk about France in general before we get into the specific places. So I'll ask you this, Jack. Before visiting France for the first time, what were your expectations, and did it live up to the hype, or not hype if the expectations weren't hyphy?
Well, I was super excited to go. So I think my expectations were really high already, and I really loved it. So I felt like I had high expectations going in, and I had a great time. It was awesome. So it really lived up to it.
Cool.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, it was like, I remember in college when we studied abroad in Europe, I did not go to France or to Paris because some of my friends said it was boring. They're like, it's for old people, like us college partiers won't have fun. So I always thought of it as a boring city. But then when I went for the first time as an adult, I was like, this is the best city ever. I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite cities in the world. So I'd say it exceeded expectations, and maybe I am just more boring now than I was in college, but I loved it by the time I was, 30 or
Yeah, that's hilarious because I didn't go either when we studied abroad. And like, I just think it's like basically we just didn't know what we were talking about. Like, we would have had a great time.
yeah, we didn't know shit. Yeah, it was stupid.
Now, we still don't even know how to pronounce these cities, but at least we went.
Yes. Next question. Do you want to ask this one, Jack?
Yeah, okay. What surprised you the most about traveling in France?
Yeah, so I would say how nice the people were. And we'll talk about this more, I think, throughout the episode. But everyone said that, French people are assholes. But I'd say overall, the people were a lot more chill than people give them credit for.
See, that's wild. Like, I agree with that, but I also feel like you really kind of had to know some French. Like, they didn't really budge on the English stuff. Like, I would say French, maybe there's like some sort of like disconnect with the language, but I feel like they didn't have as good at English skills as maybe I would have expected.
Yeah, I think we've kind of touched on this on our language episode, but like there's enough French speakers in France that a lot of them don't need to learn English because they're never going to speak to an English. It's not like a tiny country like Norway where if they speak to anyone outside their tiny ass country, like they need to know English. But France is big enough that they're like, we'll just speak French to a few people. I don't need to know any English speakers, fuck them.
Which, Steve, I feel like we can kind of relate. America's got a little bit of an attitude. We think we're the best. They think they're the best. And I
Yeah,
appreciate that. I think
yeah,
life's all about having a positive mindset.
yeah,
You might
damn
as well
right. If you
think
don't,
you're the shit. I don't need to learn
yeah,
another language. Are you kidding me?
if you don't love yourself, no one else will, right?
Yeah, like we invented croissants. Like they don't care. Yeah.
Okay, and how would you describe the vibe of France overall?
I feel like very active outside. I think one of my favorite parts about Paris and France in general is like the outdoor cafe vibe. I think it seems like everyone's kind of out there smoking a cig on the street, eating their croissant, drinking their espresso. And I felt like that was really cool. I think in America, we don't do that a lot. And so I feel like when you're walking around, at least in the summer, everyone's kind of out enjoying themselves. And I think that kind of brings things up a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say the vibes are very chill. Yeah, they can be active too, but like they just like to chill out there, and I respect the hell out of that. Like you said, the cafe culture, they're just like, I don't want to really do anything, but I want to do something. So I'm going to go sit
Yeah.
at a cafe and hang out and, drink some coffee or whatever, drink some wine. So, even though they're not doing a lot, it's better than just sitting inside and watching Netflix. So I respect that.
Exactly. Like, oh, like, yeah, I'm going to go to the park. I could go for a run, but you know what? I'll have a cigarette instead.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a cigarette, going on a run. They're like just the same health wise.
Still using your lungs either way?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me hit you. Okay. So are we talking about Paris now, or did you want to do a
Yeah.
transitionary thing
Let's get
here?
into Paris, baby. Transition. And
Okay.
now we're talking
Fast
about
forward.
Paris.
All right, editor. Okay, here we go. So, Steve, is Paris overrated or underrated or equally rated or
Dude,
accurately
so
rated?
I would say of all cities in the world, it probably has some of the highest expectations, right? It's one of the most iconic, well-known cities in the world. It's all over every movie, song, you name it, right? It's known for just like the capital of romance and love and all this stuff. So I'd say it was super hyped when I went, and I'd say it's rated. I wouldn't say it's underrated or overrated. I'd say it's perfectly rated. Like it is as good as people say it is. I thought it was going to be like almost overhyped, but it was perfect. So, how would you answer that question?
I agree. I just love this city. I mean, now, the subways can get a little packed, but that's okay. It's a highly walkable city. You can go anywhere you want. They have some of the coolest, in my opinion, touristy sites to see. The food's amazing. Everyone's outside. I agree. I would say at least, I would never say it's overrated.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
you could have an overrated experience if you screw it up. And that's why
Yeah.
we're here.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to touch on a lot of that and, different ways to enjoy Paris.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of leads us into our next question. We'll talk about touristy stuff, but this question is, what's one non-touristy thing in Paris that you think everyone should do?
Wow, okay. I feel like okay, this one's a hard question, to be honest with you, because I feel like I've done a ton of touristy stuff. But maybe like a non-touristy thing is do like a bike ride in some of these parks that are chill, like kind of on the river or sort of in the city area away from the Eiffel Tower. I think could be really fun. Or do some shopping.
Okay, that's good.
What about you?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of your bike statement, one thing I noticed is it's become one of the most bike friendly cities in the world. I know they put a lot of effort into that infrastructure. So I biked everywhere. They had Lime, like, and Bird scooters or whatever all over the city. And they also had Lime bikes, like electric bikes. So I would just hop on one of those and ride around. So I would agree. So what I was thinking for this question is go to the outer neighborhoods because everywhere in Paris is beautiful. But if you go kind of towards the outskirts, like it's still beautiful. It still has all the dank vibes, but you know, there's less tourism, there's less crowds, but you still get to enjoy Paris. And I would even go as far as to say leave the actual city of Paris. Like I spent a couple weeks in a city called Amiens. Amiens, it's spelled like Amiens.
Okay.
But that was just a really chill city with like really good French vibes. So yeah, I'd say get out of the touristy areas because it's still just as enjoyable.
I think that's great, honestly. But we should talk about touristy stuff, Steve. Like, what do you have
Let's
any
do it.
favorite tourist moments?
Yeah, for me, I would say going to the Louvre, but not going in the Louvre.
Ooh, wow.
Right? So I went to the Louvre because, you know, it was on my tourist bucket list. Everyone has to do it. I went, I saw the outside, right? The building, that area is really beautiful. But then I saw the line to get into the actual museum, and I was like, fuck that, you know, my time in Paris is limited. I'm not sitting in a line for God knows how long. So I saw the Louvre. I got pictures with like the little, or the triangle pyramid thing. I did that whole shit. And then I just got the fuck out of there. So it was kind of touristy, but not super touristy because I didn't actually go in.
That's
what would
cool.
you say?
That's awesome. I mean, I've also done the same thing. I've only been to the pyramid part, but what was great for my experience was I went there at like 3 a.m. And
Ooh.
so I got a great pick. It was dark, but I was like the only one there with some friends. So that was cool. I think I don't know if this counts as a touristy thing because I will say a Parisian did take me to this, but it was like a boat on the river Seine, and it was like a DJ party, and there was like, it was really fun, and you just went down the river and went back for like a few hours, and you got to see like the Eiffel Tower and then also like the mini Statue of Liberty thing, and it was awesome. I don't know if that counts as touristy, but I feel like it kind of is, but it was really fun. Yeah.
Was that before or after Yacht Week?
It was that summer. I think it was before.
Okay. But so that was good prep for Yacht Week. Like you were experienced with a DJ boat by the time you got to Yacht Week. So that's good.
That's why I vibed so hard on the DJ boat at Yacht Week. I knew what to do.
Okay.
All right, Steve. So what do you get? I got a hot take on this one, but what do you get? What's your bakery move? Croissant, baguette.
Okay.
Chocolate bread.
My bakery move, I'm going to go with croissant. And to elaborate on that, like, I've never been a huge croissant guy. Like, I love the Pillsbury homemade, not exactly homemade, but Pillsbury ones. But, like, I don't know. I feel like if I get a croissant at a cafe in the US, it's not that good. It's hard, right? It's just not that flavorful, not that buttery. But croissants in Paris truly changed my view on croissants. Like, I didn't care for them before, but dude, like, these things are just like just eating a fucking fluffy pillow. Absolutely delicious in Paris. But yeah, what's your bakery move?
I like the croissant as well, but I will say this is a complaint for me where I just feel like it's sometimes difficult to get a hearty breakfast in Paris. And so like I settle for something like this, but I'm literally hungry like 15 minutes after I eat it. But like it was a great like 30 seconds of like eating the croissant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I feel like there's some countries in Europe like Italy where it's like their lunch and their dinner is so good. And I think Paris, you could say the same, that it's like they don't want to put a lot of effort into breakfast. Like you don't want to spoil your lunch at all,
Right.
like because your lunch is going to be so good. You know, just have some bread for breakfast and you're good to go.
I think if I live there for a while, I think I'd be able to like transition my body, you know? But I just feel like in America, we are built for big breakfasts. Like that's kind of one of the core things about being American.
Yeah, you'll have to take notes from the fitness influencers about what do they call it? Oh, intermittent fasting, which is basically just like skipping breakfast.
See, this is the thing for me. There's two things that I just can't do, or maybe I will do, but right now I'm anti. It's basically intermittent fasting because I love eating. I'm not gonna fast. Okay, screw that, honestly. And then the other thing is not the fasting, but like the cold plunges. Like I'm not doing a cold plunge. Like I don't care how good it feels. Like, I don't want to do that. So like those two influencer things I still haven't really gotten on board with, but
I'm with you on that. Fuck a cold plunge. Back when I was a track runner in high school, we used to take ice baths, and it was the worst thing in the world. Like, your whole body's just numb. I'm like, how does this benefit me? I'd rather do a sauna and be hot, super hot, than fucking do a cold plunge. So,
yeah, there's a reason I live in Miami. Like, I don't need to do a cold plunge. Like, yeah. So,
dude, but I will say this, speaking of the bakeries, I want to get on to baguettes real quick.
okay.
I thought this was hilarious, and I saw this everywhere in France. Like, it was so stereotypical. Like, obviously in the movies, cartoons, you see people with baguettes everywhere in France. Like, if you ever see a picture of a French person, they might be holding a baguette just to let everyone know, like, that's part of their culture.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how many people walk around the streets with baguettes. Maybe they're munching on them. Maybe it's like in their backpack, like where your water bottle normally goes if you're a normal person. But Europeans don't drink water, so they put a baguette in the water bottle holder. It was fucking hilarious, but I saw it all the time.
Dude, it is so funny, and it's also just hilariously like inefficient. Like, okay, every day I'm gonna wake up, walk to the bakery and buy this baguette that I buy every single day, and I gotta go back home and then bring it home, and then finally I'm gonna eat. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hilariously inefficient, but that's Europe. That's what they're all about. Like, it's nice in a way. It's like, one thing I've done is like I've transitioned to like grocery shopping multiple times a week. It's so inefficient, but I don't know what it is. Like, walking home with just a few things is way better than like having a gigantic laundry list of stuff. That just sucks.
100%. It is inefficient. I get so sad when it's like been a day or maybe 2 days and my groceries are already done. I'm like, fuck, this is what life is like. You just have to go to the grocery store every fucking 2 days.
Yeah, but the baguette thing, yeah, that is a funny I feel like they do that. Is that an Italian thing too, or not really? I don't really remember.
Definitely a French thing. I mean, baguette. Wait, now I just sounded Italian, but it's French as fuck, I'd say.
They all do that though. They all every day they got to go and buy something under $5 as part of their routine.
Yeah, no, it is little treat culture, as some people call it.
Little treat culture, Steve. Wow. Okay, I like that. Okay.
But let's move on here, because we're on the topic of food.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite food in Paris? Whether it's a dish that you had, a restaurant you went to, or just more in general, like, what would you say?
I do really like French food. Honestly, I feel like the steak frites are so good. Like, it's like one of those moments. It's like, okay, I've been in Paris for a few days. I've had some different things like escargot or like, some seafood, that kind of thing. Everything's good. And then, all right, give me some steak frites. I need a little bit of an American type of vibe. Like, give me some meat and potato.
Dude, okay, steak frites, that was like my backup answer because I love that dish. But I want to say another one that really blew my mind first time I went to France, and I think they should do this everywhere. Having cheese as a dessert. Literally on a dessert menu at a restaurant, they'll have whatever, chocolate cake, creme brulee, but then they'll have a cheese platter. Okay, they'll have like a fromage plate, and you just get a plate of like 5 different cheeses. And you know me, like, I'm a savory over sweet kind of guy.
Yeah.
So like if I'm like, oh, I can just have more savory shit, and like the cheese in France is fucking incredible, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'll have cheese as a dessert. Like, I just love that option.
Dude, I agree. I love that too. I think and it's great because it's like I agree. I like savory food, and I can't just eat a dessert with every meal. I just feel like a fat ass.
Yeah, so might as well just eat more cheese, because that won't make you feel fat at all.
I feel like cheese has got to be, if we're talking about cheese grown in, France, like high quality stuff, it's got to be pretty good for you. I don't know. Like,
yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll go with that.
yeah.
All right, next question.
Yes, yep. Was the Eiffel Tower actually cool?
Yeah, I'd say so. You want to talk about iconic structures, just seeing something that you've seen on TV and movies so many times, and then to see it in real life, it's like meeting a celebrity.
Yeah.
And I went at night and it was a lot of fun. You know, we drank wine out in the field there, out on the lawn, and just hung out, listened to music, and watched the Eiffel Tower shimmer. Like it shimmers like the lights every hour or so. And it was a great experience. I'd say it's definitely cool to go see at least once. But how would you answer that?
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely thought, the first time I saw like the lights light up on the Eiffel Tower at night, I was like, wow, this is dope. So I like that. And I felt like it wasn't like too packed when I went during the day. There's a pretty big space. Didn't feel like it was like overly touristy where you couldn't move or just like idiots everywhere. So I thought it was surprisingly like chill and relaxing, honestly.
Yeah, I felt that way about all of Paris. Like, yeah, it's touristy, but there is enough space, I feel like, around that it's never super crowded. Like, you're never like shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of sweaty people like you are in some cities. Like, I just feel like it's spacious enough that it doesn't feel super crowded anywhere. And I love that about Paris for sure.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was awesome.
All right, let's talk about Parisians, aka locals, people who live in Paris. Do they live up to their stereotype? And I know we touched on this, but yeah, let's hear your honest take on that.
Wait, Steve, so what is the are we saying that they're mean or like what are we
Yeah,
saying?
I think generally like mean or rude or like off-putting, gives you the cold shoulder, that kind of thing.
I didn't feel like they were like that. I feel like maybe the cold shoulder is some of that comes from they don't speak English. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like literally it's just like a language barrier is more of an issue rather than them not being nice. Because I feel like it's a pretty international city at this point, too. Like, they have different districts. I mean, a friend of mine lives in like more of like the African district. And I felt like it was, yeah, like it was super eclectic. Everyone there was, from maybe like a French colony or something like that. I would say it's an international enough city that I would disagree.
Yeah, I mean, my first impression of this, again, was when we were studying abroad and we threw a pregame party in our flat. Jack, you were there. I think this was actually in your literal room. And these French dudes came over and they just light up cigs. They're sitting on our beds in our dorm and they just light up cigs in our house. Didn't ask if it was cool. And they were like just the most arrogant, not like arrogant, but definitely thought they were cooler than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, these guys are fucking assholes. And I would say that, there is a little, like we touched on earlier, like French people definitely think they're pretty fucking cool, but they are. That's the thing. Like they are cool. So it's fair of them to be like that.
So are we.
Yeah, so are we. So there's a touch of that, but at this point I respect it. Like I said, it's better than, hating your life and being a miserable person. So yeah, I'd say there's a little bit of confidence, maybe cockiness to it. But overall, I mean, no, people were very nice, people were friendly, especially outside of maybe there's people who are jaded by the tourism and the tourist areas. But I'd say if you get out of those areas, go to some smaller neighborhoods and towns, like I think Parisians can be very nice, chill people. There's not everyone in the world, in that big of a city is going to be an asshole. Like that's just not possible.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, I don't know about the SIGs inside thing. It's hard to say. It is funny. Like we're like 20 and we got these people coming in. Hey, welcome to our house. Yeah, thank you so much for coming over. Like, yeah, go ahead, light up a SIG in my 10-foot by 10-foot tiny ass apartment. Like, what could go wrong? Do you want to ash in like my fucking coffee mug? You know what I mean? Like, where are you gonna ash it? I don't know. But like that was wild. Like,
granted, we smoked weed in those dorm rooms every day or whatever.
Yeah.
The cigs are different, all right? The smell of a cigarette sticks around way longer. Weed is gone after like an hour. So it's definitely different. So they might have seen our ashtray from the weed and they're like, yeah, we can just smoke. We can smoke in here.
Yeah, like these guys are stoners. But like I thought that this is the weird thing though, right? So in the summer after studying abroad, I lived with 3 French guys and the same thing happened where they just started smoking cigs in the apartment. So I look back and I go, maybe like they weren't being assholes. They just literally like they just think that's normal.
It's their culture. Yeah, but could you imagine like if your parents threw a shindig in their like suburban home and they had friends over and they just started lighting up cigs in their house, like in America? That would be fucked up. That would probably they'd probably cut those people off and not be friends with them anymore.
Yeah, my parents would be pissed. Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing? Like, So that's a weird cultural. I don't know if that still is true. Do you think, do you think that Parisians has transitioned to vaping like the rest of the world? Like, or do you think they're more on still the analog cig situation?
I think they're holding on to paper vapes, aka
Mm.
cigarettes, aka cigarette. Paper vapes are cigarettes. So I think they're still holding on to cigarette culture as long as they can, because the cafes, at least on the patio, still allow it. So I think they just dig that vibe. Like, again, it kind of goes with like the baguette. Like, if you see a French person in a picture, they have a baguette in one hand, maybe a glass of red wine, and then the cig. Like, that's just their vibe.
It's a lot. That's a lot. What I probably do is have the glass of wine with the cig in one hand, baguette on the other. I feel like, logistically that would be good. But it is weird. I wonder why they're so into cigs. Maybe it's because they like, again, what you were saying, they think they're really cool. So it's like, oh, I'm a cool guy. Cool guys smoke cigs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, have you ever seen a movie, like an old movie, like the cool guy with the leather jacket, motorcycle? He's always ripping a cig. So I think that's been ingrained in French people's minds. They're like, cigarettes equal cool.
But I'm happy. You know what? I want them to do that and like screw everyone else. Like, like own up to your
Yeah.
shit. You like
Yeah.
cigs, smoke
Yeah.
them. Live a good
Vaping is
life.
soft. Yeah. Vaping is soft. They don't want to get into that shit.
They don't
So,
need a geek bar with like all these different settings, the turbo setting. They don't need that.
they don't
Yeah,
need a charger. They just need a lighter. All right.
and it's
Anyway.
so much easier. Yeah.
Yes. All right. You got the next question?
Yes, Steve. Wow, this is a wow. If you had one perfect day in Paris, what would it look like? Don't ask me this because I don't know.
Okay. You don't have to answer, but I will.
Okay.
I'm going to go with kind of cafe hopping. I saw a TikTok. Someone said there's nothing to do in Paris but sit at cafes. And then the person was like, yeah, that's literally the point. It's a chill culture. But I'm going to go to a quote from Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
He says the best way to experience Paris is to not have a plan. So here's a direct quote. He says, nothing unexpected and wonderful is going to happen if you have an itinerary in Paris filled with the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower. So I agree with that. Like, don't do the touristy shit. That was my favorite. Like, I did the touristy shit just to kind of check it off the list. But my favorite parts of Paris were just fucking walking around, going to cafes, going to the less touristy neighborhoods, like I mentioned before, just keeping it chill.
I think I'm with you. It's almost like, I feel like a lot of times when you visit large cities as well, like there isn't like a ton of like, unless you want to do like organized fun, like you're saying, like go to the Louvre, go to Eiffel Tower. But other than that, it's more about the people and the vibe and like eating out and stuff. So I think that's honestly the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do the touristy stuff for like a day, but if you're there a few days or a week, I'd say just do that shit for one day and the rest of the time just don't have a plan. It's a great city to get lost in.
I saw some Instagram reel that was like, this lady is like, she did a workcation in Paris. And I was like, that's kind of a good idea. Like you're basically going to, and you have nothing going on, maybe a little bit of work, but you're just like enjoying the vibes. Great way to see it.
I agree. All right, let's move on to Bordeaux. So this is a city and a region that I visited last year. Yeah, last summer, something like that. I never know where I am at any point, but yeah, it was definitely last year at some point.
Okay.
So yeah, we got our questions. I'll give you the skinny on it. Hit me up.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe we kind of start from the top. What are some of the differences? What's the day-to-day, the vibe like in Bordeaux compared to Paris?
Yeah, so the way I see it is it's kind of like a smaller Paris. And I really love that it kind of has a small town feel, like a small, charming European town. But it really is a pretty big city. It has big city resources, like everything that you need from a big city, but just less tourism, less people, less Americans, that's for sure, than you'll see in Paris. Like every American goes to fucking Paris. And the beauty of it, it's only a 2-hour train ride from Paris. They finished a new train in like 2017. So you can get there really easily, but I'd say it's a very different vibe from Paris, which is nice.
That's nice. Okay. Yeah. So it's obviously kind of like a wine maybe the wine hub of the world even. And so what is that like? What's the vibe there? Did you go on any tours? Did you drink a lot of wine? Are there little wine places everywhere or like, you know?
Dude, I drank so much wine, and it was, yeah, there's wine everywhere. Some of the best wine in the world. I did a little tour, a little tasting that was led by a sommelier. The sommelier was actually from Argentina, but
Wow.
lives in Bordeaux now. And it was awesome. Alita and I were the only people on the tour, so it just felt like a private thing, which was really nice.
Nice.
And then halfway through the tasting or the tour, she was like, "By the way, you can," because she was pouring me these little tiny tastings of wine, right? She's like, "Actually, you can pour yourself as big of a glass as you want." And I was like, "Oh, why didn't you say so earlier?" So for the rest of the time, I'm just like filling up my, like, way more than the proper portion of wine is supposed to be, but it was so good and it was so fun. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing a tasting or a tour while you're there.
So how is the wine? How do you compare a wine hangover in France versus maybe a Franzia wine hangover in Kansas?
Dude, one time I had a Franzia hangover after Wine Wednesday in
Yeah.
college in Kansas, and I had a 2 p.m. class, okay? And I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to it. I did not make my 2 p.m. class because I drank so much Franzia the night before. Yeah, the wine hangovers in France, not that bad. I feel like it's not super sugary. It's quality stuff.
Wow, okay, cool. So maybe it's like high quality stuff. I figured like is this possible if you just drink the greatest wine, can you just drink all the time and not be hungover? Because that would be awesome.
Dude, it seems like that's what the locals do. Like, they're drinking wine with their breakfast, with their lunch. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's just like water to them.
And it's like in the morning after all that drinking, they're like, "Oh, I need a cig." Like that's what's gonna bring me back
Yeah.
is a cig. Not any water. Water ain't free, so I'm not getting any of that.
Exactly. If you're going to spend money on a drink, you might as well get alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, duh. So any good food or interesting stuff go with this wine extravaganza?
All right, man. I'll tell you the best meal that I had in the Bordeaux region. So this was actually in a smaller town outside of Bordeaux because I kind of took a road trip and saw some different places. But this is the only food dish that has ever literally made me cry. Okay?
Not
This
the
was
beat-ups challenge?
No, well, that made me cry in a different way because it was so painful.
Okay.
This was so delicious, it like touched my heart. So this is a French dish where they serve you goat cheese and it's served hot. So it's kind of like queso, and they'll give you baguette bread with it. So instead of like chips and dip, it's like baguette and dip.
Whew.
But this goat cheese is served. The dish is called chevre chaude. Okay, it
Okay.
starts with a CH, so just like search for that if anyone wants to Google it. Chevre. I'm saying it way wrong. Chevre chaude. And it's usually accompanied by like a green salad, maybe some vinaigrette or olive oil. And it's kind of like a starter dish. But dude, this cheese, like, it was so hot and just gooey, and it just was incredible that I started tearing up. Alita was there. You can ask her about it. It literally made me cry, and no other dish has done that. So that, I'd say that was a memorable one for me.
Wow, that's truly an amazing experience. I hope to have cry because of food one day. I mean, that's cool. I'm looking at the pics. It looks nice. It almost looks like a reverse what are those called? Egg Benedict. Like they look like little mini egg Benedicts. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is kind of that shape, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome.
That sounds great. Wow, something that made you. So were you like, are we talking like just like a little tear or like, hey, like I need a napkin, like,
No,
like,
I wasn't full on bawling. It was more
yeah.
like I was tearing up, like maybe like one dribble down my face, but I wasn't like wailing. I didn't need my mommy or anything like that.
Did you say anything like compliments to the chef or like did you tip the shit out of him or like did you have like an exciting, like,
I did tip the shit out of them. It was at
yeah.
this little family joint, like run by a grandma. Like the grandma probably lived upstairs and she also served us and also probably owned the place. Like just super traditional like that. And
Hmm.
this lady was such a sweetheart. Spoke zero English, but I was like fromage. She knew what I meant.
So, I mean, Steve, what if you're like, a listener that doesn't drink? Is it still worth it to go here?
Yeah, I would say it is. I'd say it feels like Bordeaux, the city itself, feels like a movie set. People say that about it, right? It feels more like a cultural center of France, maybe than some other places. Like you just go and there's so many beautiful little streets to explore. The entire city center of Bordeaux is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Mm,
Classic. What isn't a UNESCO World Heritage Site these days? But still,
yeah.
um, and I just felt cool being there, like I popped my collar, to try to fit in. I tried to just dress cool, even though I just look like an American idiot, but whatever. But I'd recommend if people were going to go there, even if you don't like wine, go out to the wine country. They have these domains and chateaux everywhere. The region has over 6,000 wine chateaux and produces over 700 million bottles of wine per year. But what I did is I went and these things are like bed and breakfasts or whatever. You can stay at these chateaux where they produce wine. So we stayed at one for a few nights, and it's like a resort. They had a nice pool, super nice room, but it wasn't super expensive or anything. Like it was just really nice, really great service. And, they make the wine on site and you can drink it there, have, do a restaurant, really great experience. So even if you don't like wine, you can go to Bordeaux. There's more nature stuff to do nearby. You got the Pyrenees National Park in the Pyrenees Mountains. So went
Cool.
out there, did some hiking, saw some beautiful like mountain lakes. I'd recommend renting a car. Maybe there's trains to those places, but we had a car and that worked out really well.
Nice. Okay. That sounds awesome. I would love to do some hiking, actually. I think that's kind of an activity people maybe don't normally do in that area. But could you live there? Is it too small?
No, dude. Like I
Okay.
said, it has everything you need from a big city. I like big cities, but it has the small town charm. But yeah, I could definitely live in Bordeaux. Obviously, the French thing is a bit of a barrier, the language.
Yeah.
But if I were to figure that out, I would totally live in Bordeaux. I mean, the first time I heard about it, it was funny, dude. We were actually at Coachella. Speaking of, we're going there.
Whoa.
See
Foreshadowing.
see you there next week. I was at Coachella and I was waiting in line for the bathrooms, right? Sometimes
Okay.
those lines can get long. And
Sure.
I strike up a conversation with this guy waiting in line next to me. And I was like, "Are you French?" Like, he didn't even say anything yet. I just go, "Are you French?" And he's like, how could you tell? I was like, "You just have that look." And he's like, "I just have that look, huh?" I was like, "It's a compliment. Like, you're a good looking guy." But anyway, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to France. I'm gonna go live there for a while next year or whatever. Like, what's your favorite place in France? What would you recommend?" And he was like, "Bordeaux." He's like, "Bordeaux is," he went like this. He kissed his fingers. He's like, "Bordeaux
Oh
is,"
my gosh.
he's like, "it's so beautiful." He's like, "It used to be kind of sketchy, but if you want to see a beautiful place, go to Bordeaux." And I took his word for it. Like, that's the reason I made the trip out of it. And
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, definitely a great place. Highly recommend visiting.
Yeah, I mean, getting the seal of approval from a French guy is pretty
Yeah,
badass.
that's when you know. So anyway,
Nice.
enough about Bordeaux. Let's talk about somewhere that you've been, Jack. I wanna hear it from the horse's mouth, aka your mouth.
My mouth. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of spent a good amount of time in the south of France, mostly in Nice, actually. And I really fell in love with it because it's right on the coast, and you got the beaches, and you got a lot of nice restaurants along the beaches, and it's a very classy place. It feels very upscale, and I feel like that's always fun to like pretend you're rich and like go to some nice places. Um, but what was really nice was there was also this vibe of like almost like college kids or like a lot of younger people. There was like these big squares where at night I feel like they would fill up. Everyone's sort of like drinking outside. I don't know what it is. It's like you got the cafes like that we mentioned where everyone sits outside, and then at night it feels like everyone is drinking outside, and they might be like in the park or in some sort of square. And they're not just like all crammed into a bar. It feels like people will genuinely kind of go out and buy, wine or their own alcohol and sit outside rather than actually go to an establishment. So I feel like that really contributed to Nice's highly energetic vibe, where even though you kind of had the sleepiness of the beaches, it was still very exciting with lots of young people kind of running around. So I thought that was kind of a nice
Okay.
contrast and surprise.
So did it feel more like Europe? Like, did it feel like a livable place, or was it more like a vacation fantasy bullshit kind of place?
No, it definitely felt livable. Definitely. I think that it felt like a place that a lot of people genuinely actually live. But it was really nice. And so I didn't really ever feel touristy. I don't know why. It felt so upscale that like didn't seem, again, I think maybe every American goes to Paris and Nice is pretty far away from Paris. So I think you have to intentionally want to go there. And if you intentionally go, then I think, it'll be fun and there might be some tourists, but it was definitely felt a little bit more off the beaten path. Maybe more touristy for actual French people. I could see a lot of French people actually going there themselves rather than maybe
Right.
international people. Yeah.
That makes sense because like Paris obviously doesn't have a beach. A lot of the beaches up north maybe aren't that great, maybe aren't that warm. So yeah, I feel like if you're French, why not just hit your own beach in your own country? But I
Yeah.
am curious. I'm curious about the beach scene. Was it super bougie or was it laid back? Like, how would you describe the beach vibes?
I think it was actually kind of both those things. They had some extremely nice restaurants that were kind of right on the water, and you got to kind of relax. And it's in the Mediterranean, so it's really not like crazy waves. I felt like it was very calm, and so I felt like that kind of contributed to this kind of serene spot. And they have like a boardwalk that runs parallel to it, and so I loved it, and I felt like the food was good. I feel like it was more seafood, and more kind of lighter foods. I don't think I ever had steak frites on the beach. I mean, I would, but it didn't work out that way.
Do
So
you remember?
yeah.
Did you have like a favorite dish or food that you ate while you were down there?
There was this one place, I don't know what it was, but they just had like I feel like they had French people know how to make a hamburger. Like this hamburger was so good. Like I think it was incredible. Like it was so big and juicy. And maybe it's the ingredients in France that just it makes the food taste so much better when it's like you have like a real meat patty and like you have like real vegetables that are fresh that go on top of it. And I felt like it was just really well done. It seems like everything they do is high quality.
Yeah, French people can definitely make a good burger. They just can't pronounce the word. I remember I
Yeah.
saw this viral video of this French girl like she's playing this game where you have to pronounce like American or English words and you can't move on until you pronounce it correctly like on your phone. And she couldn't say burger. She's like Bilgil, Bilgil, and like she just couldn't get it. It wouldn't let her move on. And then she's like Bilgil, like she couldn't just do the R's. Which I think is also a scene in a movie like Pink Panther or something back in the day. He's like, Mboga. Anyway,
And it's weird, right? Because you would think the way they are saying it is way harder to say than the way we're saying it. Like, really, it takes a lot less like vocal
yeah,
cord coordination to say burger than burger. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Bilga.
so much extra work. Like, what are you doing? Like, just relax.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
totally agree. Yeah.
so would you go back to the south of France just to chill, or is it more of like a one and done, like you've seen it, don't need to go back type of place?
I would actually say, you always tell me I like every place I go, but I will say that this place, Nice in particular, is one place I feel like I could legitimately live. Like, I feel like I could literally have a spot there, go in the summers, leave when it starts to get a little cold. Like, I totally think that I could totally live there. I just felt like it wasn't outrageously expensive. There was enough community. It was very relaxing. I felt like the nightlife was really fun too. So it's actually one of the few places I could like literally live. It's not super far from America, but like you, right? I think I'd have to put some effort into learning French. But that's okay. It'll be okay.
Did you go to like Saint Tropez or like those French Riviera places, like kind of the resort towns at all?
No, I just did Cannes and then Èze as well. Èze was like this like medieval looking town that was kind of on like the hilltop. And we did like a really cool hike where you can kind of go up and you see like the French Riviera behind you, the mountains, and then like kind of what you're saying, these like old chateaus, old, castle-y looking buildings. And it was beautiful. Had lunch up there as well. So that was kind of like a small, it was like the classic European town. It's like, okay, the streets are super narrow, everything's all brick and cobblestone, and you're walking through and it looks like what Disney World wants to show you, but they just can't make it happen, because the budget cuts. But like this
Yeah.
is like the real deal. It felt
Okay.
like the real
That's
deal. Yeah.
I love that. And maybe you have another moment where that was kind of like a wow moment for you when you were in the south of France. Like me seeing the baguette people walking around. Like, did anything strike you as really wow or maybe funny?
Well, sort of. Yeah, I'll kind of lead into it. So, the way we actually got to Nice was we took a train from Paris. And first of all, I really liked that. It was about like a 7 to 8 hour journey. You could fly, but it's still over an hour. And I felt like the train was the way to go. There was a restaurant cart. You got to hang out. Everyone was having a good time. Really nice, kind of get to see the French countryside as you're going through. And then we're like, okay, we're going to keep the train thing going. We're going to take a train all the way down to Florence. And so the night out, we're out in Nice. I'm with two of my good friends, and we get a little carried away. We get, a little too much champagne. You know how it goes. And we wake up and we're really late for our train, right? And we basically get this guy and we're like, hey, we're going to tip you 50% of the bill if you can get us to this train on time. And this guy is driving like an absolute maniac. I'm like, there is no way we catch this train. Somehow we catch the train, we get on, and it's another beautiful train ride. You can take the train. I think it was a stop in Monaco or something, where you go from Monaco and you go all the way down the Italian coast. And I thought that was one of the most incredible, cool things that I got to do. We stopped at many smaller Italian towns on the way, not to talk too much about Italy, but the train was an incredible way to travel and a great way to kind of see the countryside. Sometimes when you fly, you skip so much stuff, and being able to have some of these shorter little trips and going to some towns that you would normally never ever stop at, I thought was super interesting. So great way to kind of get around in that
Dude,
part of the
yeah.
world.
I love that. I think France and Italy both have really good train systems. And I love that. It's like it's almost like a tour built in. Like some people are
Yeah.
just using it for the transit, but like if you've never been there before and you want to see some shit, yeah, looking out a plane, you can just see clouds most of the time. So like yeah, having a train ride where you can actually see stuff, like that's part of the experience.
It's great. I mean, in that area, a lot of the trains run parallel to the beach, and I just think that's just such a cool landscape. And then, on the left you got these mountains with the chateau, and you got, on the right you got this beautiful blue water. So definitely a really really nice place. I can see why they're full of themselves. Like they got it pretty good.
That is sick.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, so anything else about the South before we have our wrap up discussion here?
No.
Okay. So this question is who is each place for that we've talked about? And maybe you can just, pick out like one or two cities that we've talked about. I'll kind of go first, but for
Okay.
Paris, I'd say Paris is for everyone,
Ooh.
especially for, because it's one of the most iconic cities in the world. Everyone should see it at least once in their life.
Yep.
It's also for American tourists, right? We talked about some of the other places where American tourists, it's too far for them to get to. So I would say that, if you're American and you want to see France and you can only go one time, go see Paris, right? But
Okay. Okay.
for Bordeaux, I would say obviously it's for wine connoisseurs. If you consider yourself a wine lover, a wino, as they say, you got to go to Bordeaux. It's some of the best wine in the world, but it's also, for the chillers who want to do something a little bit different, not just see Paris. If you want to branch out, again, it's only 2 hours from Paris by train. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
if you're an alcoholic, definitely go to Bordeaux too. Like that could be you'd have a really good time.
it is. You'll
Like,
feel
yeah,
it'll be like, except, people shun you for being an alcoholic in the States, right?
yeah,
If you have wine with lunch during the work week, people think you're a bad person or
yeah,
something
lame.
like that. Yeah, but you're just normal there. There's like, oh, you're not an alcoholic. You're just in Bordeaux.
You're French. Here, would you like another
Yeah.
cigarette? Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe, Steve, also from what I gather from you, maybe it'd be like a good if you're like really into food, you're kind of like one of those like foodie people, like maybe like that's also a good spot. Wine and food go hand in hand. If there's going to be good wine, someone's opened up a good restaurant. So,
That's true. And I'd say Paris is a food destination as well. Some of
yeah.
the top rated Michelin star restaurants are located in Paris. So if you want to check those out, if you're a food douche, then yeah, go there as well.
All right. And here's my stereotype for south of France. If you want to have like an affluent beach vacation, that's where you go, Maybe like you're like a dinker. Is that how they say it? Dinkers?
A
Like
dink. A
a
dink.
dink? If you're a dink?
Dual income, no kids. You're just a
Yeah, if you're
dink.
exactly like if you're like one of those like, oh, I don't like kids, like I want to just go with my wife and we're like 45 and we're never having kids. Like I feel like that's a great place to go.
Okay, so if that's a classy beach experience, Jack, what is the opposite? It could be anywhere in the world, probably in America, but I'll let you answer that. What's the opposite of that?
Steve, there's this place in America where one state meets the other, where
Oh my
where
God.
Florida meets Alabama. I think that place is a lot of fun, but it also, I think, maybe is a little bit trashy.
Dude, I don't know. That's kind of a mouthful. Florida and Alabama. Is there a way to like shorten that so it's easier to say?
I don't know, is there like a song maybe that could like help with the pronunciation there? Like something like Florabama? Like, let's go.
Florabama, dude, that's a great idea. Dude, you should trademark that, dude. That's brilliant.
You're right. Let's get Kenny Chesney on that one. Yeah. But we
Honestly,
had a good
dude.
time there. It was
Yeah,
good.
different experience than the bougie French beaches, but I fucking love Florabama. Trashy as it may be, sometimes you got to get a little trashy, dude. Like it's just sometimes I'm too buttoned up at work all week. I just got to
Yeah.
cut loose. Got to cut loose, wear some jorts, smoke some cigs inside, fucking, just run around, throw up on something. Like you can just throw up anywhere down there. They don't give a
Yeah.
shit.
That is hilarious. It's like these French people think they're so sophisticated, but everywhere you can smoke cigs where you can smoke cigs in France is just kind of a trashy spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, but who doesn't love that? Yeah, we had a great time at Florabama, man.
Great fucking time, dude. We tried so hard to get kicked out of that bar that's literally called Florabama. Like, like Daniel and I literally broke something broke something in the bar, and they just started like fixing it, but they didn't tell us to fuck off, didn't kick us out. Like you cannot do anything wrong there, which was great.
It's one of those establishments and one of these things I just love about it where it's like the entrance is like it looks like you're entering a concert. Like they have like the barricades up. They kind of herd you in like cattle. Like that's
Yeah.
when you know it's gonna be good. Like you don't just walk in and there's like a hostess like, oh yeah, where would you like to sit? No, it's like they're like, all right, men over here, women over here, like you're coming in. It's just
You're just like,
funny.
get in here. Oh, and we bought a whole case of beer in there. You can buy a case. Like, I've never seen that at a bar in my life. We bought a 30 rack of beers from the bar, which was just incredible.
Yeah, good spot. Brian and I need to do a location highlight on that sometime.
We definitely should. But let's get back to France. Would you go back to France? If so, what spot do you want to check out next? If you could do it differently, see something that you haven't seen before, what are your thoughts there?
I would go back. I would want to go to a place I haven't been because I feel like that's kind of like an unwritten rule for me. But I would want to go back to the places I like too. Like I would love to spend more time in Paris. I would love to go to south of France, but Bordeaux sounds really good, or like even like the North Coast. I heard is kind of interesting, like Normandy, or what's that one big castle in the north? I would love to see that. I feel like
Yep.
there's a lot of places to see in France. It's a pretty big country, so yeah.
It is. It is. And I touched on the north a little bit. We missed our train stop and ended up on the north coast at one point, and it was beautiful, man. So yeah, France, like you said, big country, lots to see. I'll tell you what my plan is. So
Okay.
my girlfriend and I, we've really fallen in love with France. We've been a few times. I've been to some different spots. So I think I talked about how on this podcast, we did 3 months in Italy one year, right? And kind of
hmm
got around our visa, our Schengen visa by doing that. We're thinking maybe next year do a 3 month stint in France and maybe do like a
Ooh.
different city, like live in a different city each month. So, because like you said, there's so much to see there. But maybe like 1 month in Paris, maybe somewhere up north. And definitely, I want to do the south. I think Nice would be a great spot, or somewhere along the French Riviera. But I fucking love France and I want to see more of it. Maybe take some train trips, like you said, go into some unknown, like smaller towns would be really fun. So that's my plan for next year, is to do that.
That sounds great, honestly. I think that would be incredible. I feel like it's kind of like getting me hyped. It's like it's April, like maybe summer in Europe this summer. Man, like,
European summer is a thing, but yeah,
yeah,
I might have to go this year as well. We'll talk about it at Coachella.
yeah, we will. Yeah, we will.
As we do, we like to talk about plans that sometimes don't come to fruition, but a lot of times they do, because we're just like that, and we send it.
Yeah, we have motion, as they say.
Yeah, we do. So no empty promises here.
No, just some disorganization occasionally
Yeah, but we
from
eventually,
me.
we
Yeah.
eventually figure it out. That's sick.
Well, great.
All right, yeah, that's France, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's a huge country. There's a lot more to see, but we just wanted to focus on those 3 spots this time to fit it into one episode. So maybe later on we'll touch on some more places in France. But we love it. I highly recommend it. People are not assholes, but it is a beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a top country. I get why the hype is real. So believe in it.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got. Goodbye, everyone. Stay beautiful. Check us out on social media. Give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends. Tell your mom about it if she likes France. Moms really love wine. So you can share this episode with your mother.
Yes, this is actually, this is good. This is a mother approved episode. Yeah.
All right. That's all, folks.
All right. Take a weird trip. Thank you.